Well, howdy, folks. Welcome to Christian Men Unscripted. I am Seth Lozano. I'm joined by these two handsome young men. Yeah. Got Alan Underwood and John Harney. And we're here today, unscripted as normal. And I'm going to toss it over to you guys to introduce our topic.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, listen, we didn't even, as per usual, especially recently, we're like, what are we going to talk about? Here's what we're going to talk about. Can we confidently focus on who God is in the midst of our issues? Because we all have issues, right? And this...
Speak for yourself, but yeah, sure.
Exactly. And so I can share right now. Alan, can I share your personal stuff a little bit? We're going to. How about this? You know, I've known him long enough. He can beat me up later. No, he'll beat me up later. It's fine. Alan's been having a few health issues himself, right? And I don't know if it was last week or the week before, we shared, obviously at Rockstar World, been an amazing, just an awesome guy like a Rick Strasser is hit with crazy, scary news, and then all of a sudden he passed away very quickly. God took him home. That guy had so much impact for the kingdom. We've bragged up his family. It's not going to be easy for them, but what a wonderful God-honoring family. But then you see these things and you're like, wow, life, like, ooh, right? It is kind of scary. Mm-hmm. So if you're a guy like Alan who's over 50, the doctors say over 50, everything's going to kill you. You know what I mean? Like you're not doing great. And let's say, for instance, I don't want to uncover his personal life, but let's say, for instance, all of a sudden, every time you pee, you see blood in your urine, right? It's going to freak you out after a couple weeks. You know what I mean? And the doctors are like, we don't know what's wrong. How do you live in fear? Like, it's fearful, and you can say, don't be fearful. You know, do not fear. Know that the Lord is the Lord. But how do you actually manage that? I just want to kind of bring it up. Everyone has something, and everyone has things that touch their lives. And poor Alan right now currently is... How you feeling, Alan?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, the problem with that is, you know, the doctor was like, well, we'll do this, we'll do that. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And he goes, oh, next month. I'm like, next month? Man, I'll be dead by then. I was like, bro, this is not good. And then my back hurts. So you look on the internet, you're like, oh, that's not good.
All roads on the internet lead to cancer, by the way. Like, that's my doctor literally has told me that several times. Just don't go on the internet, because all roads lead to cancer on the internet.
But I do know that I hurt my back 2 months ago at the gym. And my back's always, I'm 50 years old. I go to the gym all the time and try and lift heavier than I probably should. So that could be part of the problem. But also, when you look on the internet, you're like, that's not good. That's a bad sign. You know, and then I start itching all the time. And I'm like, oh, man, why am I itching? And they're like, oh, that's part of the problem. You're all internally messed up and you'll be dead in 3, 4, 5 months, which is a real fear, to be honest with you. I mean, I can joke about it, but I'm like, well, all of a sudden, I'm going fine one day, and then all of a sudden, like, there's blood in my urine. I'm like, what's going on? And how was that? And, you know, I don't know what it was, and we'll find out in next month, apparently. You know, mid-April was when I get these tests done, CAT scans and all this. But the doctor seemed to be like, well, you're not a 2-pack smoker a day, so I'm not too concerned about this or that. But, you know, welcome to your 50s. You know, anything can happen. I'm like, oh, great.
Anything can happen.
I think it brings up the topic, right?
But then, you know, you can put your trust in God. That's the topic, right?
Yeah.
But your mind just goes where it goes. I can sit there and read the Bible and go, oh, I feel better. And then an hour later, my mind just goes to the other places like, well, I'm not going to be around for my family in 6 months. Yeah. Because, you know, blood in your urine is one of the worst things you can really have.
Especially without symptoms, because you really have no other. Well, now you're saying you have other symptoms, and they say that that's actually better. You'd rather have other symptoms?
Necessarily have other symptoms. My back's been hurting for 2 months. Not even my back; it's my sciatic nerve, because it went down into my knee, and I couldn't. And I mean, another problem I probably had was I took too much ibuprofen for 4 to 6 weeks to. I don't know.
Did you say 46 weeks? That is a long time.
I would take 600 in the morning, 600 in the afternoon, 600 in the evening, just to get through my day because my back hurt so bad. And, you know, then I would go to the gym and take another 300 just to not have any pain in my shoulder.
That's what I believe it's from, by the way. Personally, I think it's like, dude, you're not supposed to be taking
liver.
Whatever the
the kidneys.
Yeah, but whatever the math is on that, like that's hundreds and hundreds of milligrams of ibuprofen. I think that's really bad for you, so I think it makes you pee blood. That's what I think.
That's what you think.
I mean, literally, I'm not peeing blood. Like, I don't go to the bathroom and it's all blood. I mean, every once in a while I'll see some red tint in there. I'm like, oh, is that blood again? I haven't necessarily seen blood in my urine since that first week. Like, oh my God, there's a lot of blood. But then this is gross. Why are we talking about this?
It's good.
But now I'm like, you know, every time I dread going to the bathroom. I'm like, I don't want to see blood. And I'm like, that's red that's not yellow. It's a little red. That one drop.
Yeah.
But, I went, after the first week, I went to the doctor right away, and they gave me this stuff for my prostate, and they're like, you probably got enlarged prostate. And then I went to my urologist, and he's like, well, you have blood in your urine. We have to do these tests. It's just to see what it is. It's not like I'm going in to get a biopsy. I mean, they might come if there's something, but he goes, just what we got to do. I'm like, all right. And since then, I have not seen like visible blood in my urine, but when they did my urinalysis, there was micro blood.
Yeah.
But that's the first week. So I don't know what there is. I mean, I could be psychosomatic looking at things and going, oh, that's red. I don't know, man. But it's not good. It's scary. It's hard to focus on the Lord 24 hours a day when you're just laying in bed. Like I have weird dreams like, oh, you're like I'm peeing just blood. It's the whole toilet's red. I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, I got to go get these tests, and it's scary. And I'm like,
you're probably on your period. we're really, hey, today's topic: how gross can we get, dude? I'm being serious when I say it, and I really brought this up for a reason because I really am being very prayerful about it. Yeah. I'm not worried about Alan having something major, although that would suck, right? It's possible. It's not. It's not possible. Is that how to put that?
I mean, that's anything. Like if you can go to the doctor for something and they're going to check it for cancer all the time,
Yeah.
No matter what, even if it's a spot on your arm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's why I wanted to bring it up because we pray for each other, and I'm worried about Alan, but I'm more worried about your mentality than your health. Does that make sense?
Yeah. My mentality's been bad the last 2 weeks.
That's what I'm saying.
Especially after they said, hey, wait until April. I'm like, oh my God, dude. And then, Saturday, I'm like, is there blood in my urine? I'm like, I just need to get this over with, find out. I mean, if I got 6 months to live, let me just live. I'm stop worrying.
Yeah. Well, that's a question that we could ask is does having all this access to health care actually provide more clarity or anxiety?
Anxiety.
Yeah, because there's. I mean, I've heard that if people live more carefree, that they're more likely to overcome some of these symptoms like joy and you remember Patch Adams, like it was like laughter was very helpful in terms of
never saw it.
You never saw Patch Adams?
No.
You guys ever saw Patch?
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
Robin Williams, right?
Yeah, Robin Williams. Yeah. Like the idea was that like laughter helps bring some healing, and
which is true. Yeah. They've proven it scientifically.
Right, and so when you live in that anxiety, it tends to compound.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. You live in anxiety. I can go read Psalms, be fine for an hour, and then I go out and try and do like if I'm just sitting at home, that's the problem. But I also don't want to leave. I'm just like, I just don't want to do anything.
That's called depression, by the way. It's a real thing.
My back really hurts. I'm like, but my back always hurts. I mean, I'm always at the gym. I'm always doing stuff, golfing. Yeah. So I've had back problems. But now I'm like, this back problem is not going away. It's probably due to this, So it's a hard thought, man.
Yeah, it is hard, because I know even for like just regular thing, like even mentality wise, like I'm currently homeless again.
We got a house. We finally bought a house.
Yeah, we bought a house, but our lease is up, so we don't have a place to live until we close on our house.
There's a nice space right here.
I know. So, but this is probably like the fourth time in the last 3 years I've been homeless.
Come on,
for
family, let's live in the van again.
Yeah. But there are some of those things where you kind of like you have these anxious moments and wonder, how am I living? Am I living well? Am I putting my family through unnecessary things? Are they gonna, what's going on? So there's other ways where these negative thought processes can get into our minds when it comes to, and it can impact our health, spiritually and physically when we start to give into some of these anxious thoughts. And I know for myself, I've got a good job now, but there was a period of 4 or 5 years where I wasn't a good fit for places and started to wonder, like, am I doing things well, or does God not want me to be in this place? And I start to spiral, like I'm not following God's will for my life, or maybe I've tried to and he's just making it horrible for me. And so you start to go on these kind of negative thoughts, and it can really impact the way that you live your life with your family, as well as your own mental and physical health, because we know that through science that our body can carry our mental loads. Like stress impacts the way our body works, it impacts the way that our body responds to different things. Our chest, our heart can really be impacted by stress. And so, I've experienced that as well in my life without health issues. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happens is you kind of lose focus on really what matters. That you can actually get to know God, recognize you're created for a purpose, be helpful to other people, live in joy, and sharing those things. But then you already said it, kind of in summary, that you kind of internalize. You end up internalizing, and you don't even want to go outside, or you can't even think outside of this. Mm-hmm. I've always said it's like a fishbowl, like put yourself in a fishbowl almost, like the world is going by and you're kind of stuck. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a tough place to be. I got throat cancer right now.
Yeah, man, it is a tough place. I mean, we went out of town last week, and it was fine then because I didn't have any thoughts. My everything was good. I didn't have any pain. My back didn't hurt. Now I'm like, oh, my back hurts, and it does actually hurt. I went to the gym yesterday, and I'm like, I did it again. But I don't know. I think it just comes with age. And once you turn 50, any little thing is like. Pfft. But I think the problem is the internet. Like you said, you can look at everything, and everything leads back to one road, and that's. Death in 3 to 6 months. Yeah. And I'm sure it does, I mean, I've lived a healthy life, but I've also abused my body a lot with, I take a lot of ibuprofen. I could have messed my kidneys up. I try to lift heavier than I probably should at my weight and could have messed my kidneys up there. I don't know. Or just could be one of the doctor even goes, sometimes we don't even know. It just happens. So
Yeah. My wife's been going through health issues, and that's one of the answers that she keeps getting. Is we don't know. There's just a percentage of people who kind of have X, Y, or Z happening, and we never really figure it out. Yeah, which is unusual, right? Our body has so much detail to it, and so there's little things that just happen that are like people are still. The practice of medicine is still like, I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But then that's not a great answer because in 6 months from now, we go, oh, we should have figured that part out. We didn't know then, but we know now. Too late.
Yeah, but. That kind of brings us back. You said it, you'll read Psalms and then you walk away or something. So is there a way that maybe you guys can try to walk someone through? For instance, I brought this up because I was praying over Alan more about him being worried because I'll be honest, in full disclosure, like I said, my wife has some health stuff going on. So at home, I talk to her. She's got X, Y, or Z happening. And so it causes stress, causes anxiety because you want to feel good anyways, right? So even as a Christian and saying I'm committed to the Lord and I'm having a good time reading the Bible, but I'm stuck in this. And, even the Apostle Paul talked about how he had that thorn in his side, if you will, right? Yeah. And prayed God would take it. So you have these things. And so I'm praying over this stuff. And then I was thinking about Alan as well, and he's worried about this. And then it's kind of cool. I ended up in Psalm 145 this morning. And I also think Psalm 45 or 46, 1 and 2. But in Psalm 145, just as an entire psalm, you read through it and it's just like, God, how great you are. Like David is explaining, like I need to be reminded of this constantly. Yeah. So how else would you walk someone through that? Like if you're trying to do that or what would you say?
I feel like I'm the wrong person for that because I'm not doing a very good job at it, man. I just wish it was over with. Not like that, I mean, but get the test done. I mean, it's not one of those things and you think about death, you're like, oh, what I think about leaving my family. Like I got to be here for my daughter to get her out of school and the issues that we got going on with that. I can't not be here to not protect them. Now, if they were out on their own and they had their lives and their kids and their families, it'd be a little different, but it's like, I haven't finished. So those are the thoughts that go through my head. It's like, oh God, man, what if this is something that's not going to work out? Like, and then you think about, my health insurance is up next year. I better happen before the end of the year because they won't give me new health insurance.
Oh my gosh.
So, I mean, these are the thoughts that just go through your mind. And then any little pain, any little thing, like I always like scratch and stuff. I'm like, I'm fine if I'm not thinking about it, but if I lay in bed, I'm like, oh, I'm itchy everywhere. I'm like, oh, that's bad. That's not good. That's part of this problem.
What does the internet say that itchiness is?
Cancer.
Okay. Yeah. Just curious because
lower back issue cancer. Yeah. Blood in your urine cancer. Yeah. And look, everybody's. I've known people who've died from cancer, and I've watched my friend die from cancer. I was there when he was on his last breath. So it's like that's the scary part. When you watch that happen, you're like, oh, now it's me. But I've lived a healthy life. So, I am the wrong person to say. I have good moments, bad moments until I get the answers that I'm looking for, and part of the answer is like, I don't see, like, it's not like it was when it first happened. It felt like when it happened, it was an injury because I was like, well, that's weird. That's like bad. and then it kind of dissipated, and it's like not the injury's gone now, but there still could be. Like Saturday, I was like, I think that was blood.
Listen, here's the bottom line. I hate to be blunt about it, but 1 out of 1 of us dies.
Yeah,
we don't know when.
What?
Yeah, I know. It's a shock. I know.
Yeah.
Wow. But it does suck when you're 50 and you're like, oh man, or like, we've all had friends and family and stuff. And so again, I would kind of bring it back. So you're saying you're a bad example for that, but actually the good part is this: you're willing to talk about it. Sure, did we force you? Yeah, did we bring it up just straight up on the microphone?
But this is not what I wanted to talk about. But that's okay. I didn't really want my business out there for. Well, it's funny. We only had 3 people listen to our last YouTube podcast, so nobody's going to hear it anyway.
But what's interesting is that Spotify and everything else still has it. We don't know what happened on that. You'll figure. I bet you didn't. You know what probably happened? He's the one who does the shorts and puts stuff out, and he's so depressed.
I haven't been.
And he's staring at his pee every time he goes that he can't even get down to the computer and put stuff out, dude.
It's true. It is 100% true. I don't even want to edit this episode.
No, I know. See, so that's all I'm getting at is like Psalm 145. Again, I was looking at it this morning, and it's David who's that kind of. He's been through so much stuff, and he's in such dark places all the time because life, dude.
Yeah.
And his own son trying to kill him, and Saul trying to kill him, and losing his best friend, and all the right. If you understand. And so, but he's still writing this like, God, I just need to consistently remind me and help me to remember, like, you are God, you love me beyond anything, always. I mean, how else would you share that, Seth? Knowing that 1 out of 1 people are going to die, some by cancer, some by car crashes, some at 102 years old, like everybody wishes, right? I want to be 105, just casually asleep after I just had a bowl of ice cream. And you know what I mean? Like every one of us has these thoughts. Like, how would you kind of navigate that in talking to somebody like?
Yeah, well, that's a good question. I think for myself, when I was going through kind of like, am I doing what I was supposed to be doing? Am I doing what have been put on this earth to do? And kind of going through that struggle is reminding myself that there is a job that I have to do. My job isn't, I'm not required to own a house. I'm not required to have the nice car. I'm required to follow Jesus with all of who I am. I'm required to lead my family in that same way, and I'm required to empower them to do what God has called them to do. And so those are just like 3 of the main things that are basically the only things that I'm really required to do, and to remind myself that the expectations I'm putting on myself to have a house or to have the best car, to have these activities for my kids to do that other families are doing, that's not really my purpose. That's not really my job to do. My job isn't to put my kid through college. My job is to make sure that they are in a place for them to for me to confidently say, I've done all that I can to lead you to Christ. And now you have to make your decision, and I pray that you do, and I've done my job. And the same with my wife, same with my job, with all the people I'm interacting with, is my job is to make sure that I'm doing everything I can to make sure that they are closer to Jesus, interacting with me. And what my pastor said a few years ago was when someone had died. He had one of our members at our church. He passed away like the day after he taught a Bible study, and he said, the Lord has a wonderful way of telling you when to retire. You die. And for me, it's like, that's a good way to look at this, is regardless of what I'm doing, the status was, the status of a nice job at a big church, or status of a nice car, like a nice house, those things I desired more. And that caused me more anxiety than what was necessary. And the Lord only requires a few things of us. And we put all these other requirements upon ourselves that God has not put on ourselves.
So on that note, if you were to say, because I'm literally other people might hear this and have something else in their life, whether it's am I providing enough for my family, or those things, or I'm peeing blood and am I about to die, or I'm genuinely facing major medical crisis. That happens in life, by the way. That happens to a lot of us know people in our own family. They go to the doctor and it's like the news is not what they wanted to hear. It's that shocking news. Would you be able to, because I'll share, just trying to, like us talking to Alan, for instance, plug yourself in and your problems into his place, right? Everyone has something. Wife just left you, just whatever. I'm just saying, like, this news, kind of like, how would I try to say to a person, Alan being a dear friend, who is a Christian, by the way, already, if a person has no hope, no faith, straightforward. We're just going to start with the gospel. God sees you. He loves you. He provided a way. This is Jesus. He did it all. But if you're already a believer, and Alan is already saying, I'm reading the Psalms, but then 10 minutes later I'm by myself and I'm already frustrated again, or I'm already anxious again. How do I navigate that conversation? Like, just to specifically say to him, I know you're using that example, but like his fears. My fear is I'm not going to be here for my daughter to make sure. How do we try to address that? Because my short answer is I don't know exactly.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Like, you know what I mean? I know as we spend time in it. Good question. Don't know just yet. I'll get back to you as I study the word myself. But do you have...
Yeah, I mean, my only thing that I would ask, that I ask myself is, am I prepared to die? Am I prepared to meet my Maker? And how would I answer some of the questions that might come up? Like, how did you use your talents? How did you use the things that I've given you? And start to think from my perspective as a 32-year-old. I can't remember my age. I'm sorry, guys. A lot younger than you. But from my perspective, from my perspective, I think for me, I'm thinking, am I prepared? Have I done everything that I could to lead my family well? And have I shared with my wife? Have I empowered her and given her the skills and the direction from the scriptures that I have gotten that I feel like the Lord has given to me? Have I done that well? And so that's my question I would ask is, are you prepared? Like, do you feel like you have accomplished what God has called you to do on this earth? And that means, you might be dead next year, for all of us. Like we should live as if Jesus is coming back at the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And have I done, and what will I do until the end of the year to make sure that I'm doing what God has called me to do? And at the end of the year, if I'm called home, but my family is not, my kid's 9 years old, my son's 9, my daughter's 7, and I do have those fears that if I'm dead next year, like, she's going to be 8, my daughter's going to be 8, mm-hmm. and is she going to miss that father figure in her life? Is she going to not have that?
Well, your wife could always get remarried.
Okay.
Young enough, attractive enough, she's a pretty lady. She's intelligent, she'll do just fine.
Right.
She'll find something. Dad in her life.
Yeah, she's like, young enough. Yeah. That's good. I'm good. Thank you, guys. It's encouraging.
See, there's some encouragement for you right there. Yeah. Okay, let me throw a dash of grace into this one, and here's why. Because I think what I'm hearing you say is that's excellent, right? Especially if you're a believer who's saying you're committed to Christ, and only God knows whether you truly are between you and God, right? Mm-hmm. But by all outward appearances, the believer who appears to be committed to Christ, that's an excellent thing. Like, well, don't you feel like you have tried to do all you can do? The dash of grace is this. What about the one who is like, man, no, because I've done nothing but screwed up? And we've had this conversation. I have massive guilt over not being the father I should have been while my kids were growing up. And so my short answer is no, I was not as intentional. Nope, I messed up. I didn't do Bible studies with my little kids all the time. I was out buying drugs in bars and stuff late at night and doing all this stuff, which I was doing it for a job. I was doing it for a job in the undercover world or whatever, or chasing killers or whatever. I felt like I was doing for the community, but nope, I don't feel like I did enough for my family. I didn't point them in the right direction because I was so selfish in what I was doing, even though it was a noble profession. Mm-hmm. I took more joy out of just being good at it and having fun with it, right? Mm-hmm. So then I have to go to Scripture and say, okay, but God, I know that you're real. I know nothing is beyond redemption. I know that I have faith in you and that I will stand before your judgment seat, but by the blood of Christ, I'm saved and I'm in heaven, and I might be missing out on rewards. But can I trust that you are so sovereign that whatever age my kids are and however good or bad I did, that you actually have a love for them so much so that, especially that they believed in Jesus, that you still can take care of them whether I'm here or not? Yeah, right. That's a real question, right? Because both of you have said the same thing. I got my younger kids. Mm-hmm. Have I done enough? I've got my older kids. Have I done enough? Are they going to be okay without me? Well, the short answer is the Bible tells me, yeah, they actually don't even need you. That's a blessing that God gave you for them, and there's a privilege, and the need is more of a blessing for the family relationship, because really all we individually all need is God. He can provide for all things. Mm-hmm. But can we trust that enough to say, whether I'm here or not, can I trust that? Yeah. It's a pretty bold statement, you know what I mean? Yeah. But it is a reality of what the Bible says. Like, who am I to think that I could do any better than God himself? That's a ridiculous statement, right? Yeah. So
right, and I think what what you said is exactly right. Like, do I believe in God's power enough to do the things that I feel like, even if I can't accomplish them to the full extent that I want to accomplish them, do I believe His power is beyond anything I could ever do?
Yeah,
and that's an important thing is to realize that God's power is greater than any power that we could ever imagine. And as you know, even when I prayed before our episode, and I prayed that when we would wake up into the real reality of what heaven is, we'll be concerned, or we'll be like, man, why did I ever worry so much about these things?
I meant to share that with you. So before the episode, we for the listeners and stuff, we always pray, obviously, and more often than not, we very genuinely have no idea what we're going to talk about. We sort of very quickly talk about it for 30 seconds or a minute or 5 minutes prior, and then pray and then just start. And when you prayed that, I want to share with you, I was like, that is awesome, because that's something I hadn't thought of in a while, where, the Bible tells us at the moment of death, we're absent from the body, face to face with the Lord. And we could go into like, when do we get our resurrection bodies, and are we just spirit, and tell all this stuff. Okay. But without any of that detail, the Bible does say it's an instant. It's a literal instant. The blinking of an eye is the description, that we are absent from our bodies and face to face with the Lord. And as you prayed that, I was like, dude, that's actually a really cool thought, because I really do genuinely believe that we're going to be like, oh my God, like I was so worried for nothing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then just sense of relief, and there's accountability and all these things, but we're just so blessed and so beyond grateful that in an instant, I believe that all those things will shed off of us, and we'll be like, oh, kind of make fun of ourselves. I look forward to being able to kind of later on having I don't know, down by a beautiful stream. The new heavens and the new earth are going to be indescribably more beautiful than where we are now, which is crazy to me. And so I imagine eternity goes on for, eternity. So I imagine we'll have time to like have these amazing conversations and continue to learn and look back and be like, isn't that wild? Like we worried about stuff.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
Right.
How goofy are we? That vapor of a life, and we were so worried.
Yeah. And that's interesting. And we talk about just even the concept of time, just being, that we can only think of things in a linear fashion.
Yeah.
In reality, that is not the case. When we will be with in eternity, we can't even think of eternity in the correct manner, because we think of in a linear
We're
term.
inside of a created space and created time. Yeah. Ooh, we're getting into trippy stuff.
Yeah. But I to close my portion of this is that we should, at this moment, if we're feeling convicted, like, man, I haven't done what I've done. I haven't done well what I feel like God has called me to do. I think that this is an opportunity for us to turn a page and to be like, you know what, God, you can use all those things that I in the past for your good, and what I'm going to do is now say, have it all, God. You can have it all, and I want to make sure that if I need to apologize for things I've done in the past, that I do it. That if I have just 30 more days, that I would use those 30 more days well. And if I have 30 more hours, that I want to make sure that I'm doing the things and trying to seek accountability for the things that I haven't done well. And so my encouragement is that turn a page. God is sovereign, and He has called you in this time to make a change and to look at Him.
Yeah, I like it. You wrap it up.
Yeah, just honestly, very, very sincerely, I know we say it like be blessed, and what that means is like recognize that you already are blessed, that you can have the happinesses of God. That's where that comes from, right? Happinesses, and that you can have real joy. And I highly recommend go find a Bible, Google it. Read Psalm 145. Alan, I'm going to recommend you read Psalm 145, because it's a mentality to decide, like to recognize, okay, God, I fully submit to you. I love it. Thank you. Yep. Yeah, fully submit to that. God's got you, whether it's 30 days or 30 years, bro. You got more than 30 years, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So.
I don't know if I want 30. All right.
Be blessed, man.
Every